My name's Chris Billett.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd, and you listen to the Blue Army podcast.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs, and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
You could stab and stab and stab in a room full of them and still not make a dent in that dynasty.
I love how you started recording just as you said that.
Yeah, well, no one knows what name we were talking about, so now it's just an intriguing proposition to start the podcast on. I wonder who they were talking about. Maybe you'll find out one day. Maybe you won't. I'm just going to turn my little earphone up a little bit, so I can hear you a little bit better. Mm-hmm. That should be better for us. It's all on my end. It's nothing to do with you.
I'm facing away from the mic at the moment.
No, it's because I only had it set to like fucking 30% or something. So I banged you up to at least 50, and that'll solve the problem, no doubt. We'll crack on. We've got episode 55 to introduce.
Yeah.
Oh, I just have a quick sip of me coffee, actually. I've got it in my hand now. I started using cream in my coffee instead of milk. Life changer, because you don't use as much sugar. Because cream's naturally sweet.
Yeah, I prefer without sugar anyway.
Fair dude. So I've started cutting down on my sugar because I'm using cream, and obviously that means I'm cutting down on the milk as well. But it's just dairy for dairy. I don't know. It feels like a step in the right direction, but it might just be going in circles.
How many sugars were you putting in it?
2.
Okay.
But I started, the big Sports Direct mugs. Nah, the big Sports Direct mugs as well. You know what I mean? That's how I start my day, with one of them, and then I have a smaller one with my actual breakfast. I have like a Sports Direct coffee mug, like that size for like my first coffee, and then do what I need to do for the first 20 minutes of the day, and then I'll make breakfast and make myself a small coffee to go with my breakfast as well. Normally, life of Riley, me, Oh dear me. Right, we'll get started. Oh, Maras, how's it going? And welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. I'm your host, Skelly. This is episode 55, and I'm joined by everybody's favorite co-host, the one, the only, the reoccurring character, that is Wills is back. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Good. Awesome. It won't be once we start discussing Carlisle, but right now
it's a difficult one this week. I didn't really want to write a rundown because it's just like shit after shit after shit. So I reckon we'll just fly by the seat of our pants. But as we always do, Wills, we start the podcast off with positive vibes and a bit of a giggle and a laugh. It's time for the Blue Army podcast joke of the week. Is he having a laugh? I think he's trying to. Let's the Blue Army podcast joke of the week. Right. Nice little quick one for us this week, mate. Where do fish keep their money? Where would a fish keep its money, yeah?
Where would a fish keep its money? I don't know.
In the riverbank.
Hey.
Obviously.
Have you been finishing off the Christmas crackers?
I've been making my way through those disregarded Christmas crackers. Yeah, I've only got 2 left. There's no point in keeping them in the box in the attic all year round. So I thought I was getting desperate and I may as well get them out. But that's the Blue Army podcast joke of the week. We've got one of those every week for you lovely listeners to look forward to. And we'll keep the good times rolling, mate, actually, before we dive into some of the bad news. We'll do the birthdays. It's time for the birthdays. So the first one I've got written down on my list is probably one of the coolest names you could probably have in football if you were a brick shithouse defender. This man's name was Ray Train. And he was 71 years old this week. After Ray Train is a bit of a Carlisle United odyssey, a Frenchman who came over here and entered the hearts of many a Carlisle United fan with his 81 appearances. I'm talking, of course, about Stefan Ponthewonchi.
Say that again.
Stefan Ponthewonchi. I did a little bit of research because the name did interest me. I was kind of thinking it might be some kind of South African heritage, and I might be diving down that way and seeing a couple of the Orlando Pirates maybe on his past teams, but no such luck. He started his career in France and kind of ended his career as a coach in France as well. But along the way, he went from Carlisle to Dundee United to Port Vale to Colchester United to Scunthorpe United. So two of the teams that we find ourselves around at this time of the season. Apparently a bit of a legend in these parts. I was never lucky enough to get to see him in the Carlisle United.
It was a little bit before my time. It was a little bit before my time, but
little bit.
Only because I lived in Whitehaven, so I didn't really get to Carlisle games as a teenager or anything. So it was like, it was like at that era, and I didn't really know the players because I didn't see them, but heard a lot about him. Had him on Football Manager or Championship Manager. He played then, so I knew more about him from that than anything else. But and Ray Train. Ray Train's another one that would he have been 80s or something if he's in his 70s now?
Yeah, it would have been early 70s. Yeah. In the early 70s.
I mean, he's definitely one that I've seen mentioned on the forums. So.
Popular names, cult hero figures from around the Brunton Park folklore. Other birthdays include another legend, you have to say. Former Carlisle United midfield maestro and long-serving captain Paul Farwell was 43 this week. Paul Farwell obviously dipping his head in and out of management over the last couple of years, and we've had him at Brunton Park once or twice over the last couple of seasons. It's nice to see him back. He always gets mentioned around the Carlisle job. I feel like any ex-Carlisle player, especially a captain who's now in any kind of senior management, is going to get touted around that Carlisle United job. But maybe Paul Farwell's name should carry a little bit more weight to it than some of the others. He's been around and he's learnt his craft a little bit. And when he does come back to Brunton Park, it doesn't seem like he embarrasses himself very much. Do you like Paul Farwell?
Yeah. It was kind of like just a good, solid captain midfielder. I got a bit of stick for being a bit too defensive, but we could probably do with a player like him right now, with all captain sideways.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what I was kind of thinking. Every time I go through these birthdays, I kind of do think he would fit the way into the current Carlisle United team, but and Farwell would be the pick of the lot. But moving on, we've got two more left, mate, and this man was an absolute legend in Carlisle's first promotion, in those back-to-back promotion winning seasons. He fell by the wayside when the multi-Brewstered Michael Bridges came to town. I'm talking about, of course, Magno Vieira. Magno Vieira, what a striker. He was strong, very much in the shape of Carl Hawley. You could see when we got Carl Hawley that Vieira and him were going to be chopping in and out of the side. They were both strong, very quick on the turn, devastating, annoying, buzzing bees kind of strikers who could find the back of the net. But obviously the hitman Hawley just being able to find that run of form and stay in the Carlisle starting lineup once Bridges had arrived and Vieira was moved on to, I think, then Barnet. Obviously...
we did want to sign Vieira after Wigan released him, but we couldn't get a work permit for him.
But Barnet could.
Well, yeah. he didn't play football for a year after his loan to us ended. So yeah, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia, but like I looked up because I know like he was on loan from Wigan and he only played in the conference season. But yeah, we were unable to sign him when we went up into the Football League. Whether because we were a Football League club, because he was playing Football League football, whether that was a factor in why he couldn't get a work permit or something, or passport problems or something. But yeah, so apparently he actually spent a year out of football after that. So it was a shame. We could have probably done with him. And he's only 37.
Well, that's it. When I saw that he was 37 years old, it did make me jump on the Wikipedia page and see if potentially he was still playing. But apparently he is managing over in New Zealand. Magno Vieira's career took a bit of an interesting turn once he sort of reached the lower levels of the National League once again, about 4 or 5 seasons after being promoted with Carlisle United. He decided to pack up his bags and take a chance on the newly established back then and very short-lived New Zealand Premier League football experiment, a league that didn't last for very long, unfortunately, in New Zealand. I think that's been culped by the Australian A-League now, and I think there's 2 New Zealand teams in the Australian A-League. But at the time, this was just a New Zealand-based football Premier League, and he went over there to try and get it off the ground. Basically, he's one of the marquee players over there for those teams, and he's still over there, so he must be enjoying himself, eh? He's managing a team called North Wellington, which is probably around that similar standard to where Paul Arneson's managing in Australia with the Central Coast lads. And it's just good to see him staying in football, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? Especially after he took that year out early in his career.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he was a young lad then, so he's only 37 now. So he'll have been maybe young enough that he kind of was able to lose much of his fitness. He never really managed to break into league football. He seemed to like with Fleetwood as well. He got promoted. Well, he was part of a promotion-winning team, but then moved on to another conference team again. So never. I look at his career history. There might be 1 or 2 clubs there that he played for in the league, but it seems that he never really managed to, get up into the league, which is a shame because I think he was good enough.
I mean, he was very much a popular figure wherever he went, from what I've learned. Obviously, having that Brazilian in your team was a bit of a novelty in the lower leagues back then. So they were cut into quite popular cult figures. But Magno Vieira did back it up with goals for us. And he did look useful. But we do have to remind ourselves that it was the National League. It wasn't in the Football League, and there is that chance where maybe a manager can bring him in and it just doesn't fancy him, Maybe he just gives him the old, I need the English lads for these cold winter months, and then all of a sudden Magno Vieira gets frozen out of the team, and it's not really any fault of his own. It can happen to some of the foreign lads at these lower league levels. Sometimes the managers have a preconceived notion of somebody not being able to play for them during the colder winter months, and it only takes 1 bad performance in November for you not to play again until March, unfortunately. We do see it happen. We'll move on. 1 more birthday, very quickly. Russell Coughlin would have been 62 today, and I think that was all the birthdays covered from this week. If there are any birthdays missed, please send them over to us and we'll read them out next week, and then everybody gets a fair turn. We'll move on. I was just going to quickly glance over some of the news headlines that caught my attention this week. See, this is what I hate about some Carlisle United news, mate, especially when it concerns to injuries, is that it's never, ever coherent. There's never the full picture. There's never the full story. What I'm talking about, the situation is with Brennan Dickinson. Brennan Dickinson went down injured a couple of weeks ago, missed the game against Colchester. I think he missed the game against Port Vale. It's a knee injury. He's had a scan recently, and now apparently it's between him and the physio and the manager whether or not they're going to allow Brennan Dickinson to have surgery now. And basically that'll keep him out until the end of the season, which means he'll probably just leave at the end of the season after the surgery. Or the idea is if he's going to be well enough just to continue playing with his knee the way it is until the end of the season and then have the surgery at the end of the season. Now, it's a difficult one to make the decision on because you're never going to get 100% out of Brennan Dickinson this year if you do continue to play him. But if you let him have the surgery, then you're going to get nothing out of him until the end of the year. And chances are, like I just said, he's going to disappear and he's going to go somewhere else. And we're not going to see the fit version of Brennan Dickinson.
Yeah.
What we've seen from him this year hasn't been very impressive. He hasn't contributed a great deal towards the starting lineup. You would be tempted to just let him have the surgery and get him out of the dressing room.
I think we give him.
Go on, sorry.
I interrupted. Yeah, I need to stop.
No, you're all right.
I think we did award him a man of the match at one point, but I think he's one of those players where he needs to be fit in order to get a good performance out of him. I mean, like looking at his most recent performances, especially if they are fitness related, we probably aren't going to get much out of him to the end of the season. But it'd be a shame that we don't, because he's one of them players where every now and again, if it is fitness related, it's he seems like a new signing. So had a few problems with injuries, and could well be the factor in his recent performances, which haven't been great.
Sorry, mate. The bloody cat was scratching at the door, so I just decided to let him in. So if you hear a meow or something, that's all it is. It's just the cat wandering around. There he is. He'll come and say hello. Oh, this is great for a podcast. There's the cat. There he is. Look at the cat. Anyway. Obviously, I do agree with you, mate, with the injury to Brennan Dickinson. Sometimes you're just better off just getting them out the changing room, letting them get fit, because you're not going to get a good performance out of him. Unfortunately, while he's not 100% fit, and his confidence comes from him feeling good, probably, and the manager backing him up. And if he doesn't have the confidence from feeling good, then you're not going to get the best out of him. And we're going to get the sort of performances that we're now becoming accustomed to from Brennan Dickinson, which isn't a fair reflection on how good the player can be. 1 second, sorry.
Okay.
There we go. And off goes the cat again. Sometimes the cat just needs to come and check and make sure I'm alive. And then once he's done that, he's quite happy just to leave for another couple of hours. And then he'll come and check if I'm still alive again. But we'll go back to the podcast, not cat updates. Other news that caught my attention this week is the fact that Newcastle boss Eddie Howe has denied that he had any interest in signing Manchester United goalkeeper Dean Henderson, which would of course result in a windfall coming through Brunton Park. Now, we have to understand, even though we're not professional footballers, never have been, and we're not professional managers and never have been, sometimes people have to lie to keep cards closer to the chest. Now, just because managers say they're not interested in somebody doesn't necessarily mean they're not interested in somebody. It's just a way to sort of cool down rumours until they can actually be in the position to do something about it. And there's nothing you can do about it in February, so there's no point in talking about transfer rumours and having those circulating for 4 months before the market even opens again. Now, I don't want to sound like a doom and gloomer, but if Dean Henderson was to be sold by Manchester United and there was a big windfall coming towards Brunton Park, I mean, what's this board going to do with that money? They're just going to cover the losses, aren't they? Surely they're just going to cover the losses.
Yeah, I mean, we probably some of the signings made in this January window were on the back of money that we received, not necessarily a fair reflection of how much money we've received, but we've seen this quite a few times. The board are more concerned with working the debt down. I don't know whether any of the money ends up going to Philip Day, who we owe. I'm not, obviously nobody's really that certain on the financial situation, whether other people that we're having to pay off. But yeah, it's one of those things where they're very kind of financially conservative, which I think kind of like we know. And yeah, it would probably take a lot of money coming in before we actually started seeing a decent amount of that get spent on the football side of things.
Yes, so, it's almost better.
Yeah,
it's almost better leaving it as cash in the bank, as it were. Do you know what I mean? There's no expiry date on the deal, so it's almost better leaving it as some cash in the bank potentially.
Yeah, because he might go for more. He might go for more in I mean, he's got to replace. Well, he's got to be the new the Man U number one soon. You'd think how old is David De Gea now? I think we talked about this. I'm sure he must be coming towards the end of his Premier League career at least. I'm just going to look him up.
So this is the only thing with De Gea though. At the moment, all the pundits are saying that he's the best
31.
player. Yeah, but everyone's saying De
31.
Gea's the best player as well. Everyone's saying De Gea's Man United's best player. So I don't see him leaving.
Right.
He's the only one who's apparently consistently turning up. And he's the only one that will face the press on a regular basis and face the criticism. He's quite popular at the moment.
I suppose the thing with David De Gea is, I mean, he's been there for a long time. He's only 31, so I spoke too soon. He must have been much younger when he signed for them. But yeah, he'll have a season where his Man U's weak, where his Man U's weak link, and I guess you never know what you're going to get season from season from De Gea. It seems. I don't follow Man U, so I didn't know that this was a good season for him, but I know he's had plenty of bad seasons. But yeah, at 31, I don't know, you still hope that Dean Henderson's going to push for, because, the hope is that a few years down the line, maybe Carlisle are in a better financial situation, with more ambitious ownership, and then at that point, De Gea goes to Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain for 100 million.
I mean, that would be great. That would be great. I mean, I'm definitely not gonna argue with those results. If that was the way that the deal went, but it doesn't look like there's anything coming anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if Henderson did end up at Newcastle United. I don't think it's a terrible fit for him. He'll be joined by another former Carlisle United goalkeeper in Gillespie, who's still over there. I think he fluctuates between being the number 2 and the number 3 over at Newcastle at the moment.
I think Gillespie's transitioning into coaching.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the main reason is that I think it's one of those players that they've signed him so that he can play in their
under 23s.
The Johnson Spain Trophy thing. And I think there's a few players like that. And usually they're transitioning into coaching so that they'll work with the under 23s and then sometimes also play with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad little career that he's etched himself into.
Yeah.
I always liked him in Carlisle United. I thought he was a good goalkeeper. Wills, were you at the Port Vale game midweek?
I was at the Port Vale game midweek. Yeah.
Right. I haven't really made too many notes on it. I know that we'd be pressed for time a little bit today, and we don't normally cover the midweek games here on the Blue Army podcast, but with that being said, since you were there, do you have many notes from the game? Did anything stand out for you as a major issue apart from Carlisle's defence?
I mean, I'll have to see if I can find where I might have written
Use
it.
your fingerprints to unlock the
Oh, was that you?
My phone thinks I'm talking to it sometimes. I don't know why. What were you saying, sorry?
Yeah, I'll have to kind of like see if I've written anything down. Maybe made some comments after the game that remind us if I picked out anything particular. I mean, it was fairly poor in most parts, although we did equalise. Owen Windsor, really good goal. Some good work from Omatoy down the wing and Patrick also in the build up to that. But Port Vale looked fairly well assured, and with it seemed like they could potentially be got at the back. They had like a few moments where they looked a bit unsteady. A few little spells that Carlisle had of attacking. Issues with defending, yeah. Obviously, Joe Riley was at right back in this game and was directly responsible for two of the goals that Port Vale scored. Both times, a soft pass across defence was intercepted by a Port Vale player, leading to a goal. So that was a really disappointing thing for a player who the fans have been calling to have back in the side for a while. He wasn't played in the position that most people would like to see him play. It was a position that he plays occasionally, but I don't think anyone would say it's his strongest position. So, I mean, you can probably, maybe kind of forgive him a bit for the mistakes that he made, given that he'd not played in so long, then was put into that position. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like marks a fairly, a fairly negative atmosphere in the ground. Sort of, fans around me calling for Riley to be subbed off, like the player that they'd been calling to see him play more, like very quick to turn on him when he made a mistake. And that's the kind of atmosphere that we've kind of got at the moment. There wasn't, it wasn't as terrible a performance maybe as 3-1 suggests. Because I say like it took a couple of particularly bad defensive errors for Port Vale to get two of their goals. So you kind of like think maybe if we'd been a bit more tighter, maybe if like a proper right back had been playing either Senior or Mellor, then maybe those mistakes wouldn't have happened, and who knows, it might have ended up as a point. Because as good as Port Vale were, I didn't feel like we were under constant pressure from them. The stats suggested they had 17 shots and 8 on target, which looks like overwhelming pressure. But I mean, I didn't feel that at the time. So you'd have to kind of look through and see how many of those were like outside the area or something. But poor, sort of poor forward play was part of it. But I don't know, I've probably talked too much about a match that I only have vague memories of. I can't kind of pick out, other than the two Joe Riley moments, I can't really pick anything out anymore. It's been a week.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Thanks very much for your analysis, though. I mean, for me, this lad from Southampton, this Daniel Simiu, he's not good. He's not good enough. He just hasn't shown willing either. If you watch him at the end of the goals or any chances that are going wide, it's all you can see. He's getting snapped at now by his other defenders because he's telling them he's only been here for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You can tell what the other lads are thinking. Like you should be picking him up, and you should be picking him up or something. And they're snapping back at him. You can see it now in the videos between these chances. And he's cutting quite a lonely figure at the back now, because if he makes a mistake, the lads are just like, well, that's your fault, that, mate, because he started throwing them under the bus first, so that you can see there's this culture that's going. Now, the manager obviously likes him. The manager's put the effort in to go all the way down to Southampton to watch him play. He obviously feels like he's got something about him. I don't see it. I don't think he's strong enough in the air. I don't think he's confident enough in the tackle. I don't think he's hard hitting enough in a tackle. I don't think he plays with enough persistence or passion, that he wants to constantly be checking where his man is and picking him up. Because if you watch the chances at the Port Vale, the chance doesn't always go to the person that he's supposed to be marking. But you can see sometimes from the set pieces, when the ball goes in, he's got his man. When the ball goes clear the line, he just completely abandons the situation, regardless of where the ball's gone. So if the ball lands back at a Port Vale attacker and can come straight back into the box, Sime's man's gone. He hasn't got him anymore. He's gone, because he's only watching him as the ball comes in. As soon as the ball's left the box, he's just lost his man, and it's consistently losing his man. And you can see that through the other defenders, but they're not telling him in the moment. They're not telling him during the play to go and pick up his man. They're telling him after he's already made the mistake that you should have been picking him up. Yeah. You know? And when you've got someone like a Mellor on the pitch, he'll bloody tell you in the moment to get over there and cover your man. He doesn't wait until after the mistake's already happened to show you that you've made a mistake. Now, obviously, very disappointing defeat. Port Vale are a team that are doing pretty well, and nobody really predicted us to pick up anything there. So we'll just we'll go over the top of that one. I think we've dwelled on it a little bit there. Now, we're going to go on to Carlisle's 2-2 draw away to Colchester United. And before we dive squarely into the match crack, as we like to do here on the Blue Army podcast, we'll go through Carlisle United's starting lineup. Now, this time the formation seems to have changed slightly. So he's obviously reacting to what's been happening in the last game. So we started with Howard in goal, Simew, Feeney, and then Roberts, I believe, making his debut in the defence, with Riley and Armour playing sort of wing-back positions. So it was kind of like a back five, with Mellish and Whelan pushed out in front of them, Windsor, Soho, Silva, and Patrick all playing up front. So that's a fair few changes there in the Carlisle United lineup. Not the change a lot of people would have expected to see. I think a lot of people are expecting Devitt to get pushed into that Carlisle United team and add some, some spice, I guess, to Carlisle United's attack, that extra option going forward in a midfielder that we don't seem to really have. Obviously, Gibson being out of the team as well at the moment. I don't think the manager fancies him, and now he's brought in his own players. I don't think we're going to see as much as Gibson as we saw in the first half of the season. I honestly feel like the manager prefers Alessandra to Gibson. And he'll be given more opportunities going forward off the bench. And hopefully, I hope Gibson gets back in the team again. Yeah. But at the moment, I'm feeling that the manager doesn't see him fitting in. And maybe it's because Gibson defensively is a bit shy of his defensive duties. And obviously, the manager needs his players to be tracking back and getting back in. And obviously feels a lad like Windsor is more likely to do that for him. It's a formation change. It's a big personnel change. Yeah. And we needed a result here. Yeah. We got a point, but we did take the lead early on. From the first half, mate, from what I've seen of the first half, we were under the cosh. We were getting battered all over the park in the first half from what I've heard and from what I've seen on the highlights. But it seems like something changed at half time, and Patrick was the buzzing busy bee once again around the Colchester defence, and he opened the scoring with a beauty, didn't he, mate? What an absolute beautiful goal for Omari Patrick's collection. Do you have a fond memory of that? Do you want to talk us through the goal?
I mean, I have a fond memory of seeing it on Twitter about 5 minutes after it was scored. Somebody posting things up there. Yeah, it's a really good goal, and it's kind of important to have players who have that bit of extra, just that extra something, because sometimes when you're playing quite badly, listening to the commentary and looking at kind of like some of the stats, it seems kind of clear that, and like some of the Colchester fans' responses to being a goal down, it seems clear that they were kind of frustrated at not, having us under the cosh and not putting things away. Then when I looked at the highlights, most of the early highlights were chances for us. So I don't know whether the people who choose the highlights didn't choose very well, or whether that despite everything we still had the best chances in that half. I'm not sure what that was, but early second half, I guess you've got a player like Patrick who can sometimes just kind of take them all on himself, and with a bit of help from who passed him the ball. Well, the highlights doesn't actually go back to who passed him the ball. I can remember it getting mentioned, but no idea who did it now. I've given the assist to Show Silva for that, so I guess Show Silva passed him it.
Well, I mean, it was a good strike, and Carlisle held the lead for about 18 minutes when Colchester broke their own little deadlock. I feel like there was a lot of tension in the Colchester Stadium when that goal went in. It broke a lot of tension. It meant a lot. Poor Carlisle United defending, you do have to say. The corner comes in, and it's just a lack of strength. Maybe Simiu is in the mix, but not really on a man. And it's just a lack of defenders picking somebody up. I think that's the issue there. I think like there was only 3 Colchester players in the box against about 5 or 6 Carlisle United defenders, but yet they were able to find each other in the box, and that's because, in my opinion, no one's man marking. If you picked up your man, you would have been able to battle him in the air. Chances are you could have been able to win that aerial battle, but because no one's picked him up and he's a free man just coming in to win the header, and that's why we've conceded the goal there. I think. What are you seeing from the replay, mate?
Well, we've seen quite a lot of things this season where we failed to deal with the ball coming back in after an initial clearance. So it seems to be a bit of a theme this season that we don't organise ourselves for that. Like, so it's a corner. Simiu heads it out, to the edge of the box, and the Carlisle players, which we've seen a few times, just all of them they just stand around where they are. They don't really think, right, this ball's coming back in, we've still got work to do. They sort of running towards the ball, but there's no plan. Or it doesn't look like there's a plan. Presumably Keith Millen has a plan and they're not implementing it. I can't think that a manager wouldn't say anything about, second ball coming back in after the clearance, but they don't seem to be actually doing anything that looks like a plan. Simeu he gets up and heads to the corner, and he's quite good at getting up and getting the header on. I think you've talked about the fact that he tends to head it out a little bit. He doesn't get up there and proper clear it. And that's not
Simeu, man. That's your Silva.
The heads it. Right.
Simiu's behind Shaw Silva, so you got 24 there. Number 6, Simiu's behind him.
I'll just watch that again. I've accidentally reset the thing. I was trying to pause it, and
I'll go to a minute and 5 seconds if you're on the YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I keep trying to pause it, but accidentally hitting restart. So instead of pause. That looks like Simiu, the head's it. I can't quite see, it's blurry.
It is very blurry. I'm only going off the
I
position
thought it
of the
was
man, and
Simiyu.
Simiu's behind him. So that's I think it's Shaw Silva that wins the header.
Well, I mean, you can't. I can see where Simiyu is, and I can see where Show Silver is. I can't see where the ball is.
Yeah, I feel like just because Simiu's behind him, I feel like it was Shaw Silva that's won the ball there because his body language looks like he's won the ball in the header.
Well, there was a thing we were going to say anyway about Simiyu's heading, and it might not be relevant in this case, but you've brought it up before, and if it turns out it is relevant, or if people are just wondering what I was going to say now, it's just that you're talking about him heading it just to the edge of the area, or I kind of like wonder if this is kind of like the latest thing with Southampton or with kind of Premier League academies to have defenders try and head it to someone's feet or something, and they're trying to do that. Because sometimes you see that when you get like the loanees in from Premier League academies, in that they do something differently, something that's going to become all the rage in like 5-6 years or something, and at the moment is kind of maybe not quite working out at a lower league level, where it's still just a bit of a academy training routine type thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a mistake.
I know, but you're saying like it does it quite a lot, and I've seen him do it. Like you think like the ball will come in and he'll go up to head it, but not head it out, head it to head it into an area, perhaps. And perhaps that's kind of like the thing that they're teaching in Southampton now.
Yeah, maybe it's like a counter-attack kind of thing. Yeah, maybe it's like a counter-attack culture kind of vibe, and it's like don't head it out, head it forward. Maybe. Obviously, it's a lot more fast pace, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the Premier League team there probably, would expect that they have the ability to not have to ever just clear it. That there's always something clever you can do with it, so that's kind of, Premier League quality and standards, and, maybe that's what they're trying to instill in him, and maybe that's why he does that.
Maybe it is, but like we spoke about in the first goal, though, the second goal is another example of Carlisle not reacting to the second ball very well. Now the cross does come in through some very hard work from the Colchester attacker, who then just sort of like rolls it off, tees it off to a winger to send in a nice little cross that finds his man a bit easily, to be completely honest, in and around the Carlisle United 6-yard box. He then gets a second opportunity to stab at it, which I think rebounds off Feeney's face. And then he gets a third opportunity to hit it, and he doesn't make a mistake at his third time of asking. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Carlisle United players in the box there. 4 of them are in the 6-yard box, and nobody can react fast enough in the time it takes him to have 3 shots to clear that ball. That's awful defending, mate. That's awful.
There's a bit of luck, though, because, the ball hits, you block the shot coming in, and the ball just rebounds straight back to the attacker. You kind of get a bit lucky as an attacker if that happens, if your shot's blocked and the ball comes straight back to you. It's then blocked again and comes straight back to him a second time. I was kind of like, although it turned out to be irrelevant in the end, I was wondering why nobody's marking the Colchester number 6. Because Sime was playing him on side. So in the end, that's irrelevant because Colchester number 6 isn't needed. The defending up until the point that he receives the ball isn't great because there's kind of 3 defenders and none of them are really in a position to stop him taking control of it and getting a shot. Once he gets that first shot away, I think what comes after that is just kind of fortunate for Colchester, unfortunate for Carlisle, that you block a shot twice and it goes back to the attacker both times. I mean, there's Carlisle players around him, but it goes back to him perfectly. It goes back to him as if it was so it's still poor defending where he receives the ball. I think the fact that he gets 3 chances to have a shot I don't know. It's just one of them things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a part of luck that goes with it.
Yeah.
But even still, if your job is a professional footballing defender, get your ass in front of the ball. Just one of you.
Well,
just one of you. Like, there's only one of them. I know there's only one of them doing it though. Like, another one can come in and help. You know what I mean? Like, one of the other defenders needs to do something in that situation as well. It can't all just be Feeney. You know, like I said, there's 4 defenders in the 6-yard box, and I think there's 2 attackers in and around that area. So that
here's our number 28.
They can double team on him. You know what I mean? I think it was Roberts making his debut.
Yeah, I think he blocked the first one.
They need to, you know what I mean? There needs to be more purpose there. There needs to be someone taking more control of the situation. There needs to be that leader there. And I'll repeat myself one more time. We miss Mellor. We miss Mellor. All right. We do miss the experience. We miss the communication, and we miss just having that commander around that area, because I don't think Mark Howard, yes, he's an experienced player, but I don't think he's an incredibly vocal player. I don't think that's his style of goalkeeping. I think that he's just good at what he does. And obviously he can organise his defence, but he's not commanding his defence, you know. Now, obviously, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Carlisle United did manage to finish the game on a bit of a high. It was a very nice counter-attacking move. Some very good work from Omari Patrick going forward. Found Riley over there on the right-hand side. Now, this was more like what we wanted to see from Riley against Port Vale, I suppose. Yes, right back is not his natural position, but what he can do is get forward with the ball into attacking positions, and he's got a good cross on him, a good pass on him, and a good shot on him. So he's a good player to get into the final third. He's a useful player to be in the final third, and I feel like Millen really helped him by playing the 5 across the back this time, because it just gives those wing backs that bit more confidence when they bomb on forwards. And Riley seemed to let his inhibitions go towards the end of this game as he entered the Colchester box. A beautiful little check back, gets his head up and sees Silva right in the middle with nobody anywhere near him in the 6-yard box, and he gets down nice and low, gets his head onto the ball and finishes very well, scores his first goal for Carlisle United. A great assist for Riley, a great assist to the assist for Omari Patrick. It's a nice Carlisle United move, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's good to see that, you know, there are a few players that we've got now, Patrick involved again. If Riley can be, you know, more attacking, you know, that's the kind of thing we want to see him doing. He's a sort of player that'll do that. And, you know, Silva gets his first goal, takes up a good position. He was involved, although you can't see it on the replay, in Patrick's. He was actually involved in one of the goals that we looked at the goal that we looked at against Port Vale as well, in a less direct rain, that he kind of shepherds the ball to Owen Windsor, pulls a few Port Vale defenders out of position. So it's not been too bad. I know, like, he had some chances where he could have done better, and fans were kind of pretty frustrated with him, because I think, you know, we were kind of really hoping for someone who will come in and turn us around. But good to get a point. Not good that we have, you know, not good really to, in like what's a sort of 6-pointer, to be like, oh, we'll have to just come away with a point, but it's better than a defeat. It's good that we scored 2 goals, and, you know, it's good that we're kind of like able to come back in a game that I think we probably thought we were losing. And, you know, I mean, we criticised the Carlisle defending for the Colchester goals, but probably from a Colchester point of view, that was probably the worst piece of defending in the match. Can't quite see on the replay, but not entirely sure how Silva managed to find that amount of space in the area.
Yeah. I didn't say he was wide open in the middle.
He was for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what happened, if the Colchester defenders just kind of fell asleep. Or maybe they were expecting Riley to take the shot when he took the check back there. Maybe they were expecting him to take a shot on.
Yeah, I mean, Colchester are down there with us, and they'll have the same problems with,
Yeah.
morale and things that we have. And, this is kind of them 2-1 up on what will be an important 3 points for them, just failing to see it out, making mistakes at the end of the match, which is the kind of thing that, well, if we ever do get to the end of a match with a lead to defend, which doesn't seem to happen very often, it's a sort of thing that we can expect Carlisle to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those. It was good for us, mate, on the day. Obviously,
Yeah.
Colchester failing to keep hold of the leads, maybe falling apart under a bit of pressure. But whatever it was, I mean, at the time when Carlisle went 2-1 down, I was thinking that's it. We're not going to be taking anything out of this game. So to take a point was very good at that moment in time. Now, to choose a man of the match for the game against Colchester, I mean, for me, it's between two people. I imagine you could probably guess who those two people are. I'm going to go for Omari Patrick over Show Silva, I'm afraid. I think Patrick's goal was a very good goal. I know Show Silva's got the goal and the assist, but like I said, when I was talking about Carlisle's equalising goal, Omari Patrick got the assist to the assist for Show Silva's goal, as it were. And I just feel like he covered maybe a little bit more ground during the 90. Both players, very good players. It's very neck and neck, but because of the much better goal aesthetically and just being able to, I think, on the ball, being a slightly better player on the day, I'm going to give it to Omari Patrick. What about you?
I'm going to do the same and give it to Omari Patrick. The commentators, and nice to hear James Phillips back in the commentary booth, by the way. They were fairly complimentary towards John Mellish. Apparently, he had one of his better games. Can't really award him the man of the match based on only seeing the highlights, which he doesn't feature in. But So it sounds like John Mellish had a better game. But Patrick, if he'd come to me for a man of the match for Port Vale, I was kind of leaning towards Patrick again, because in that match, it was just like one player who wanted to and could maybe make things happen and bring us forward. I think probably actually Patrick or Owen Windsor. I think I was going to give Owen Windsor it for the Port Vale game, but it was close. This one, just Patrick. He can put in a good. He's one of those players that can put in a good performance when everyone else puts in a bad performance, and that's something that we need.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He doesn't play fantastic every single week, but it's His consistency has definitely been getting better with his time at Carlisle United across the last 2 seasons, and maybe that bad game is like 1 in every 5 and 1 in every 6 now, because he is normally a good sort of 7 to 8 out of 10 player, and that can be good enough to win you the Foxes feature man of the match.
Sometimes you need a player who, even if sometimes if he has a bad game when everyone else has a good game, but then he has 2 good games when everyone else has a bad game, then that can be the difference making. That can be, looking at games like this, that's worth 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a difference maker.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he is.
There'll be games where that's worth 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, he is a difference maker. He's an impact player, and especially at this level, he does shine. Next weekend's opponents, mate, is Swindon Town. Swindon Town are sitting just outside of the playoffs. It's another difficult opponent for Carlisle United. We're playing at home. I mean, it's going to be a difficult game. Swindon just beat their last opponent, Scunthorpe, 3-0. Scunthorpe, obviously, we all know where they are. They've got a very interesting youth protege in on loan. That is Lou Barry from Aston Villa. I would rate him higher than Brad Young, but then again, that's just a matter of opinion when a player is that young and that inexperienced. Now, as I can't do here on the Blue Army podcast, I cannot predict that Carlisle United are ever going to lose a game, which this season has made me look like quite the moron. But once again, I am going to predict that Carlisle United are going to win and they are going to win by 2-1 at Brunton Park this weekend against Swindon Town. What do you think, Wills?
Oh man, I hate this. I'm gonna forecast 2-0 to Swindon. Probably Harry McCurdy. It's a poor forecast, I know. Yeah,
That's it. Harry McCurdy's back, isn't he? Yeah,
Harry McCurdy's back with a Player of the Month award under his belt, and 26 pence that a fan donated to him as well. So
what's that about?
He's going to be on a bit of a high. Like I only say because it made the news, but a 6-year-old Swindon fan left his pocket money put through the envelope or put in the post.
Like a goal bonus.
Yeah. 26 pence with a note saying to give it to Harry McCurdy. Oh no.
Oh,
isn't it sickening? Nice. Isn't it sickening when other clubs are having a good time?
Yeah, it does make you feel a bit sick. And hopefully Harry McCurdy will feel a bit sick this weekend and he won't score against Carlisle United. And on that rather whimsical, wishful note, I reckon we'll end things this week on the Blue Army podcast. I don't know how long I'm going to have to edit because I am recording on the day that I am going to be publishing the episode. At the time of recording, it is 10:34 a.m. on the 16th of February. This episode will be released within the next 2 hours. So if you feel like it's not been edited very well, I didn't have enough time, so deal with it. Wills, it's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we don't need editing, really. I feel like we're getting good at this now. Yeah. We'll keep smashing on, and we'll hopefully see you again next week for episode 56 here on the Blue Army podcast, where we'll be talking about Carlisle United's result against Swindon Town at Brunton Park, which will hopefully be a bit more fun to talk about than the games we've had to talk about this week here on the Blue Army podcast. Like I said, this has been episode 55. Wills, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and there's only one thing left to say to the lovely listeners. Bye for now.
Bye.
Nice.